What's happening, people? Welcome back to another live stream. This is where we're going to talk about the All or Nothing trailer. We're just going to have a quick reaction to it, or the Raphinha drama that's happened today, and a little bit of an update on Raphinha Martinez and how the future holds for Arsenal Football Club. Now, of course, it's been a mixed emotional day for us Arsenal fans today with all the news coming out, which we're going to get right into as well. But if you're new here, please do subscribe, like, and share. And if you are over on Twitch, do drop a follow on there as well. But thank you for tuning in. Let's get right into it. So, the All or Nothing trailer dropped today. We got a little bit of a teaser about what it's going to be like. And then, you know what? It was actually quite nice to see that the negative stuff was what it started with. The 3 losses, the 0 goals, no wins in 3, relegation forms. Someone coming out and saying it's time for Arteta to go. It was brilliant. I liked it because I think it draws in a lot more people, and it draws in not just the Arsenal fans, but it does draw in us as well. Like, it draws, rivals into it because they want to see what happens and how biased are Amazon. How much are they gonna, sort of do the pro Arsenal propaganda like everyone thinks they're doing? So yeah, I mean, the thing is, I quite like it. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, they've dropped it's gonna be the 4th of August. Over on Twitch, because it allows me to do it, to do like a walk, so you can come along back to it. It might be a bit of fun. It might be a disaster. Who knows? But that's going to be quite fun to watch. And I'm looking forward to overall. Like, when you look at the Spurs one, when you look at the Man City one, I know they've done a few, like, I think it's NFL or NBA ones, but I'm not really into it like that, so I've never really watched it. But even if you watch Drive to Survive, for example, on F1, I feel like there's so much that goes on we don't see, and it's so exciting because we now get to see an insight into, is it Edu, is it Arteta, is it Vinay, is it Josh, who does all of this, like who's the reason, who's the backbone behind all of this. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the club actually runs and who has what responsibility, because there's a lot out there, people saying this person has this responsibility, this person has that responsibility, but we don't truly know. That's the reality of the matter. So it's going to be quite interesting, and it's going to be quite fun to see like how that all pans out. But yeah, let's kind of talk about the positives before we get into the negatives, because I kind of want to leave the Raphinha news till later. I'm not really looking forward to talking about that just yet because it does hurt a little bit. Um, but yeah, no, that's my All or Nothing kind of just general thoughts on it. Lucas here, man, thank you for the support on pretty much all the streams I've been doing. Big up, I'm over this already, to be honest. That's ready to move on to new links. I am going to talk about that because I kind of want to talk about it from 2 perspectives. I don't want to just sit here and cry over Raphinha because that's not really what I'm here to do. I'm going to talk about it, but I'll get on to that later on. But let's talk about Raphinha Martinez because, I mean, not a lot has developed in that sense in terms of if he's coming in, but what's happened. But we have made a second bid, improving our deal to 40 million euros, or I think some people are reporting it's about 38 million plus 5 million in add-ons, which is fine for me. I think he's a brilliant player who can cover left back, left centre back, ball playing centre back. He's basically the Arteta player, and I think it's really important to kind of look at, what we're trying to do. We're in Europa League, we're in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, the Premier League. We're trying to go for top 4. We're trying to win the Europa League, in my opinion. I do think that is one of the objectives, is to try and secure a European Cup. We've been massively pressured into winning a European competition. That's one of the things all fans are bantering us about, and it still will continue because it is only the Europa League. It's not the Champions League. So it's going to be, for me, one of those things that we're still going to get bantered about, but we have to go for it. This is one of the prime opportunities for us in terms of squad, in terms of depth, to try and go for it, especially if we can get all those signings off the line. Monty's already like kind of jumping the gun there, but big up yourself, man. I met recently on a few streams, and he's a brilliant person. Go over to Is it AFC Monty? Or just drop your at if you want, and just go and follow him. Brilliant, keeps you up to date with the news. And yeah, Oshiman or Felix or Gak. Do you know what? Okay, so you're saying Oshiman or Felix as one, and then, or would I go for a Gakpo Tillemans? It has to be Gakpo Tillemans because I think we need another midfielder. As much as I rate Fabio Vieira and I think he's a good prospect, I just don't know how ready he is. So I have to go Gakpo Tillemans because Gakpo number one sorts out the issue of having a winger, but also if we need a striker, he can also do that. And we need that's tough though because in a reality, I would want Oshiman with a Tillemans. I want a midfielder with a star man. So like I'd go for Tillemans, Raphinha, or like Oshiman or Felix. But if you're talking about like in that sort of £80 million budget, it has to be Gakpo Tillemans. But I'm interested to know what people think because I know a lot of people will go Oshiman or maybe even Felix, but I think that's a raw emotions talking because you want to kind of go for someone who's going to bring the same X factor as a Raphinha. But for me, you've got to be logical. We do need a bit of depth. And to be honest with you, our starters aren't that bad that we need to absolutely improve that hard on them. So I'm more leaning towards a Gakpo Tillemans than a Oshiman or Felix, just because I think that midfield is needed as well. And here it is, guys. If you want to go and follow, it's Monty _ official _ definitely worth a follow there. And I'm gonna try and arrange a stream once I do start becoming consistent and I know when I can actually go live. We'll definitely sort something out for that. And but obviously, today we're hearing that Martinez is very advanced. That Manchester United also are having their eyes on him because of the Timbers. We know what Louis van Gaal said about Timbers. If he does go to United, the chances are he's not going to be in the Dutch squad, and that's why we look like we're front runners. But this is one of those we cannot let United get a bid in. We have to get this done before anyone else has a chance to even place a bid or even get contract talks done. This is one of those where we need to move quick. With the Raphinha one, we were always kind of not a priority for him because you had Barcelona on his mind. He said Chelsea was somewhat of his second choice, and then he kind of put Arsenal and Spurs in the same sentence. So it's a bit difficult when you're sort of third choice to a player. So we definitely weren't front runners, for him signing that contract. Well, Lisandro Martinez has no reason to pick United over Arsenal or Arsenal over United. So vice versa. It's whoever goes in for him and gives him the best opportunity. Now, United can definitely offer him a starting position, whereas we would say to him, you've got to fight for that. So is he willing to do that when the World Cup is up and coming? But if you look at the Argentinian defenders, who does he really have to compete against? Not that many, in my opinion. So there is Christian Romero, who's a guaranteed starter for them, but Lisandro Martinez is pretty much a guaranteed starter, regardless of how much he plays. The only thing he'd want is minutes to stay fit for the World Cup, potentially, which we can offer him, in left back or centre back. And potentially some people have even spoken about him being a defensive midfield option, which I don't really think we'll use him there. But it's always an option, and you can't write them off. So that's enough of that because there's not really much to say about them two other than the fact that we are looking to get them in. And it looks like Martinez is a very intensified offer. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. But I am fairly confident we could get that one over the line. Now, I'm sorry to say it, and I know a lot of people probably don't want this topic to be talked about, especially after today. But Raphinha. Now, of course, we sit in a position where we feel like it's all but done. It seems like, yep, Chelsea have secured this deal and there's no chance we can get in for him. And I don't think that's quite the truth. I think the narrative is pushed that Chelsea have done this. And I do kind of think, yeah, he is Chelsea bound. But what if we match that Chelsea offer? That's the if, but, and the maybe. If we do it, or maybe we do it. So, because that seems to be the barrier, because Leeds wanted certain amount of money to kind of secure him. Same with like how Barcelona are kind of keeping Frankie de Jong to a ransom of 80 million euros, and they don't seem to be budging on that figure. So it's a matter of whether you pay their valuation or you kind of walk away. And I feel like what we've done is kind of walked away from the deal, just because we don't really want to commit 65 million euros on a player we don't 100% need. So as much as you know what it is, it's one of those ones where the more you talk about it, the more it doesn't bother me. It's weird because when I first kind of heard about it, my raw emotions were, this is a disgrace. Like, this is an absolute disgrace. How can you let another player walk away from when you've got them in pole position, just let them go to a rival, especially a direct rival who we're trying to compete against top four? Now, granted, we can say their circumstances, we can say off the pitch matters meant that we were a lot closer to them and we could have knocked them out and got top four instead of Chelsea, which is a real possibility. I know people are going to be, nah, they were secured, they never had to worry, but it was only a couple of points. We're talking a matter of like a few points, really. If we hadn't slipped up in those 3 games against Brighton, Southampton, Crystal Palace, it's a matter of those fine margins that we lost this game. No, we lost the top 4, sorry. So for me, it's not that far off. So they need to reinforce just as much as we do. So for us to let someone of his quality go over, it does hurt, and it is a bit of a, well, why did we let that happen? But when we look at this sort of price tag that we're associating to Raphinha, I don't really care how much you have to pay for a player, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't truly believe that there's any player in the last sort of 5 to maybe 10 years that's gone for its true value. And the market changes. Like, we don't really know what a value of a player is anymore because it changes too much. Like, as soon as that Neymar deal happened, it kind of inflated the market so much so that nothing has made sense. Like, Van Dijk, as good as he isn't a 75 million pound defender. Like, I get it in the current market, yes, but if you look at traditional centre backs, he's not. But the prices are stupidly inflated anyway. Like, so it's difficult to say whether he's worth it or not worth it. I guess it's a buyer's market in terms of you pay what you need to pay to get the player you want. And if you're that specialized and you have no secondary option, then unfortunately you just got to fork it out. Lucas here saying if we lose out on another target, then I'm fuming. If Ajax is using us to get United's attention, I'm done. Do you know what it is, though? There's a huge possibility that's the case because Eric Ten Hag's a major player. And look, if they're not going to Ten Hag, there's questions to be asked for United. Like, how's that happened? How aren't you getting your own players? Like, legit, they're his own players. Like, how are you not winning them over? Like, that to me, you know what, is a statement for them and it's a worry for them. So no, I agree. Like, I'd be fuming as well because we just need to get the deal done. That's legit. Just be quicker, because don't even let someone else enter the race. Just get it done. Now, thank you very much. I'm guessing it's Velvy, isn't it? Just gonna grab. Thank you very much. And obviously, those people who are new to the channel, do subscribe and like whilst you're there as well. Coming from a rival's perspective, I think that 60 million is better being spent on other positions. You might need a mid, and that's the other side of things. Do we spend 60? This is how I look at it. So let's just hypothetically say we've got a pot of money which is 65 million euros, which is about, what is that, like 55 million, something like that. So let's just say that's the pot of money. What would you rather do? Get a Raphinha and that's it? Or would you rather get let's just say Yuri Tillemans and Lisandro Martinez and potentially like a Gakpo, a Sulemana, like a project winger? That's really the question. Like, that's truly how I see how the question is. Like, because it seems like if we've put everything else on the back burner, like, for example, when we cool that interest in Yuri Tillemans to try and get this deal done, then the question needs to be asked. Like, that means that's a huge part of our budget that we're using. So we want to see whether we can afford to bring Raphinha in before we then get Tillemans, which to me would be a stupid thing to do. Like, I'll be completely honest. Like, as good as Raphinha is, I'd rather those positions have a little bit more depth and a bit more meat to them rather than just bare bones. So now I kind of agree with you. Like, when you sort of let the emotions go and you let, that sort of initial raw emotion and just drop that off, you kind of start to see this perspective where we do need other positions more than we need Raphinha. And are there more players who are like Raphinha than the other targets? I do think there are. Like, if you're looking at Raphinha, you can go for a younger version in a Sulemana, for example. Now, Sulemana's no guarantee. That's the difference. With Raphinha, you're pretty much guaranteed he's a Premier League proven player who's done it for Leeds, and Leeds aren't that great. So when you add quality around him, he's definitely a player that can do it. And the other thing I really liked about him is he's a player who can make nothing from something. So something from something from nothing. So you can give him the ball. He can create a goal himself, which is something we kind of sometimes miss. We need a team performance to get our goals, which isn't a bad thing all the time, but sometimes it becomes too predictable. So it is what it is on that one. But yeah, no, I agree. I think we spread the resources, get other players done, and then we can always revisit if the opportunity comes up again. But the other thing is Ousmane Dembele on a free. If he potentially doesn't sign for Barcelona, we can look at him, because the reality is we need depth. We don't need a starter. So that could be an option for us. The market these days are mad. I'm so glad we got Salah before the Neymar transfer. Imagine if we'd done it, Roma would be. And that's what I mean. Like, we don't know. Like, the reality is we have no idea, like, how stupid these prices are. Like, even when we talk about Benjamin White. Now, I agree. He ain't worth 50 million. He's probably a 30 million defender at best. So then you add in the English tax and all of that sort of stuff and the inflated market. That's just what's going to happen. I think Basuma was a really good deal for Spurs, actually, for 25 million. I think that's a bargain, but that was the touted number that was going around for a few seasons. So, but I can't knock that. But to be honest with you, like, we don't know, like, because I don't believe these players are worth what we're paying them. Even a Haaland at 75 million isn't bad, but then you add in the 450,000 a week in wages. That's what gets to me. It's like these players aren't worth their true value anyway, or what value we're paying them. So it's one of those ones where, like, I hate when people ask the question of, or say, I wasn't worth it anyway. And I'm like, well, no player's worth it. Lucas here saying, but that's why we're so excited. We thought we have a budget to sign Rafi, Yuri, and Martinez. And now, you know what? I hear that. I do. Like, I see where you're coming from. But it's always going to be difficult because budgets aren't necessarily like we've got a pot of money. It's more, how can we, sort of stretch this budget out? Chelsea are clearly putting the money up front. We're looking to sort of, all right, we'll pay you like sort of 30 million or 20 million, and then we'll pay you another further 20, 30 million, and we'll get the deal done that way. Whereas with Chelsea, are probably like, look, we'll give you the full amount up front. We don't do any installments, and we'll just get it done. So we don't know. The answer is the window hasn't yet closed. So it's really difficult for us to judge whether there's a lot of money on the table or whether there's a little amount on the table, or how much of that budget's already been used. So I get it. I'm not even deflated because I don't think we've now got the money for all three. I just think we're looking to structure our deals a little bit more efficiently to spread that budget across the pitch, which is fine. Like, that's what a lot of modern teams are doing, especially the well-run teams. They're structuring their deals in different ways to kind of mitigate the financial risk that you take. And a lot of them are doing it bonus related. So if we get into the top four, you'll get this much, and the player will also earn this much, etc. So it is a good way of doing it. But I hear that, man. Like, it's really difficult when you think there's a lot more money on the table than there actually is. So but yeah, no, it's always going to be the case. It's always going to be the case that people are not going to agree necessarily with how much we've got and how much we're looking to spend. I do think it'll be a roughly another £150 million window, or a €150 million window. So it's definitely on the cards there. But when we sort of kind of start looking at our team, so now we've got Ramsdale, we've got Matt Turner. Then we look at our right backs, we've got Tomiyasu. You can put Ben White there as well as an option, and then you've got Cedric Suarez. Then you look at our sort of centre-back options. We've got four. We've got four options there. We've got Saliba, Ben White, Gabriel, and if we bring in Martinez, we've got Martinez, but we also have Rob Holding. Then when you look at the left-back option, let's just say we bring in Martinez. We've got Tierney, Alessandro, and Tavares if he happens to stay. Then you've got El Neni, Partey, Sambi as the 6. Then you've got Vieira, Emil Smith Rowe you can put in there. You've got Xhaka, Odegaard as your midfield attacking options. Then you've got sort of, Saka on his own on the right. Unless we sell Pepe, then we've got Pepe as well, which I do want to sell Pepe and get someone else in because I just don't think he's good enough. Then you've got Emil Smith Rowe, Martinelli, on your left-hand side options with Marcus Flores coming in, etc. Then your striker options are literally Gabriel. That's why I think the attack needs more work. But we need to stretch the money as much as we can and get a few positions because another midfielder would definitely shore things up. And then bringing in, someone cheaper, let's say, I don't know. I'm quite fond of Cody Gakpo coming in. I know a lot of people are saying maybe go for Gnabry now. I just don't think that's real. I think we're living in dreamland when we talk about Gnabry coming to Arsenal at the moment. But we'll see how that one comes out if there's any rumours on that. To be honest, majority of managers don't get their first target. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. Prime example, Liverpool wanted Werner and ended up with Jota. They were 100% like, for example, I'm not saying this is the manager's, but this is the fans' choice was Buendia. A lot of people lost their heads when we didn't get Emi Buendia or we didn't get James Maddison, and we got Odegaard instead. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying that, James Maddison or Odegaard. I'm not trying to say which one's better, but we didn't get a bad deal at the end of it for 30 million quid to have a Martin Odegaard produce the numbers he did and how influential he was with how we set up our attacks. It hasn't worked out that badly, so I do agree. Sometimes, you know what, your second choice is a blessing in disguise, and in reality, because the first choice can be the obvious one, but sometimes you know what it is. It's the hype, it's the emotions related to someone's career, and you're like, yeah, I kind of want to go for that because it looks good and it's the new shiny thing on the block. And that's my only worry with Darwin Núñez for you guys. You know, obviously you're a Liverpool fan suggesting, the Werner and the Jota thing there. And that's my only worry with Darwin Núñez for you guys. It's like, is he just a new shiny toy or is he as good? Because don't get me wrong, I wanted him at Arsenal, so I'm not trying to dig at it, but I'm just trying to think like how much of a risk factor that is. For us, for you guys, for United, whoever ended up with him, it's a massive risk to play because we don't know if he's truly as good as we think he is. He looks good, and he has done very well in the Champions League. So against some Champions League teams, I think it was against Bayern, didn't he score 2 goals or something? So he is a good player, but we'll have to wait and see how all of that works out. But I 100% agree. Your first choice isn't always the right choice, and sometimes the second choice is a blessing in disguise. United are set to make a bid for Martinez. This window is turning into a nightmare. I want to remind fans of something, right? So this right here is what we were feeling when Basuma went. When, Aston Villa got 2 signings, Kamara and someone else in early in the window. Even before the window opened, they kind of announced that these deals are going to happen. And then once the window opened, they kind of officially announced them and confirmed them. And now look at us. Then Fabio Vieira happened, and then Gabriel Jesus happened quite quickly afterwards. And we're like, oh my God, our window's amazing. So the thing is, we do react to emotions, and we do kind of, I wouldn't really say flip-flop, but we do kind of flip from emotions constantly. We're like, oh my God, we're having a good window. Oh my God, we're having a shit window just because we lose one player. Now, I agree. Like, obviously, if you lose Raphinha, if you lose Martinez, it is shit. Like, it's a shitty feeling. Like, there's no denying that questions need to be asked. And I think it's more Edu than anyone because he's the negotiation guy. He's the transfer guy. All Arteta can do is suggest players and potentially speak to them. That's all. Even if you look at Pep, that's all he can do. That's all Klopp can do. That's all Tuchel can do. They can't make these signs financially make sense. They can't make these financial decisions. That's where Edu comes into it. And that's the reason why when I talk about transfers and why I don't blame Arteta is because if he says, for example, I want Lissandro Martinez and Edu can't make it happen for whatever reason because he's slow at negotiations or he's not good enough, but simply, then the question needs to be asked of him, like, why can't you get these done? So obviously we'll have to give it time. Like for me, I want to see later on because I want to see like what the links are now. What's the plan? Like, if we're talking Raphinha as a plan A, what's the plan B then? Are we now going for a bigger midfielder and then potentially a project winger or a project attacker? Like, what are we now looking to do? That's going to be the interesting thing for me. And then when you look at sort of, we need that sort of versatile defender as well. So it's going to be, I agree. Like right now, it does feel crap. Like it feels like we're losing all our targets. But remember, this happened with Gabriel Jesus as well. Chelsea went in for him, Spurs went in for him, and we were like, "Oh my god, we're going to lose him." But what ended up happening? We've ended up signing him. So I know it's hard, but all I'm saying is I'm gonna try and be patient as I can. Yes, initially I'm gonna react like an absolute dickhead, like everyone does. We all react with emotions and anger and all of that, but you've got to at some point just go, do you know what? We got those two signings done and we felt buzzed. And that's all I'm gonna hope that they know what they're doing and that they've got replacements in mind because for me, that was an opportunity signing. It wasn't a planned signing. So that's the way I see that one. That's the difference. Martinez is clearly a target that makes sense. Basuma was always a fan driven, 100%. And this is the other thing that I say. Like one thing I absolutely love is the fact that we're not going for fan driven signings. And now I'm not saying that Basuma's bad just because it's fan driven, or we shouldn't have gone in for him because he's fan driven. It's just more of the case of I want the club to do what they feel is right. And if they don't think Basuma is what we need right now, then cool. As long as you're aware of what we need and you can clearly identify the targets, I'm cool with that. You know, Martinez obviously wasn't something that was driven by the fans, but now it is because now we're linked to him. I mean, look, people may have raved about Lissandro before, but I've never heard of it. I've never heard the hype until now when you get linked to a player, and that's always going to be the case. Like people don't um, boast about a player until they're somewhat linked to the club. And Basuma, to be fair, like I know it's fan driven, but we were somewhat linked to him, and it did seem like at one point a transfer for him could be on. So as much as I feel like it could have been like fan driven, and it could have been a narrative driven by the fans, and the excitement around it. I do think at one point he was a true target for us. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that one pans out for Spurs and how he does in a possession based system rather than this progressive system that shit, what's his name now? Graham Potter plays. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see like how that one goes. But you know what? I like it. I like the fact that just like fuck off to the fans. We're gonna do what we want to do. Deal with it or don't deal with it. We don't really care. We're gonna do what we feel is good for the club and what's good for Arsenal moving forward. And I love that. I'm not even gonna lie. I love it. There's no guarantee. Who knows? Vieira could end up being a better signing than Basuma. Same with Nunes. Of 100%, 100%. Now the thing is, a lot of people obviously are saying Haaland guaranteed. This, that, the other. There isn't a guarantee. Like, let's not be. Look, on the surface of things, statistically, on paper, on data, on science, on this and that. Yes, Haaland should destroy the Premier League. That's obviously from his numbers, from his sort of expected goals, expected threats, everything like that. He should 100% dominate the league. But that's never a guarantee. There's so many players who come in that look to be like the next big thing, and they're not. They're simply just not. And it doesn't work out like that. And obviously, it's really difficult because they're really early on in their careers. And Haaland, obviously at Borussia Dortmund is really where you can judge him because that's his big. It's a step up, and he became massively in the limelight in the Champions League. Granted, he scored 51 goals to 50 games, I think, in the Premier League, in the Champions League. Whereas with Nunes, obviously, it's a one-season thing. So we'll have to wait and see what that. But you know what? I'm interested in that battle because there's no excuses for either player. Because Nunes isn't stepping into a shit team. He's stepping into a system that has worked for many, many seasons and has pushed City to the very end. And Haaland is stepping into a system that creates a stupid amount of chances that he should just be buried. He can legit plant himself in the box and not move. That's how good Man City are. Like, he doesn't have to move. He can legit just be a tree right, and just set his roots in the opposition's box and just let the ball come to him. Like, that's how ready-made it is for him. So for me, like, yeah, I get that. And the same with Basuma. I mean, Vieira and Basuma are two different players. It's more party. Basuma is the talk of the town, who's going to be better this season, etc., etc. We'll have to wait and see. And this is the thing with transfers. Even if you come from the Premier League or you don't come from the Premier League, you come from a shit league or a good league, there's never a guarantee. A Neymar could come over and absolutely flop. Lionel Messi could come over to the Premier League and flop. And by the way, I say that because Lionel Messi is my GOAT. And he could come over to the Premier League and not be able to hack it week in, week out. There's every possibility. Like, even though on paper and on the surface, all the stats suggest there's no way a player flops, tends to flop. So that's just my view. And also, you bang on. Like, but you know what it is? It's exciting though, because I love I love Liverpool and City fans for this, because they're kind of clashing heads with Haaland and Nunes, and I love it. Like, put your chest on it, man. Nunes is going to be better than Haaland. Haaland's going to be better than Nunes. Like, put your chest on it, man. Like, I love when rivalries are like that. When you know you've got two exciting players and you want to pin them against each other. It's what football's all about. Lucas AFC saying here, Ornstein clearly said Martinez is a top target. That's a bad look if United just take him after we did all that groundwork for months. Yeah, it'd be peak, mate. It'll be absolutely peak, because we don't want to lose a target. We don't, not especially not to a rival, and not a target that we actually need. So with Raphinha, you kind of can forgive it. So, you can forgive a Raphinha going to Chelsea because we didn't really have our eyes on him. But when you have an eye on a player and you've done all this groundwork and you're doing it whilst you're trying to get another top player, we have to get this over the line. I'm not losing another player to a rival. It's just, I can't take it. I'm not going to lie, it's annoying. All right, okay. Yeah, I thought your name was familiar. How you doing, man? It's been a long, long time. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, man, it's good to see you back on the streams as well. Lucas Raphinha was a Barcelona top target, and now he's going to Chelsea. Things change all the time. It's more Barcelona couldn't afford it. Like, as soon as they realize Premier League clubs are putting nearly 50 to 60 million in, they were like, yeah, forget it. And also, he was third on their list or fourth on their list. They want to get the Kunde Lewandowski deal done first before they even look at a Raphinha. So it's difficult to say where Barcelona's head was at. Of course, South Americans, they all pretty much want to join Real Madrid or Barcelona because of the names and the legacies that have been created by South Americans in those two clubs. So it's a no-brainer. Like, if Barcelona going for him, we all lose out. There's no one that's competing. He's gonna go there. His head is in Barcelona, which is another thing that, like, when you think about it, if he's not our first choice, he's not Chelsea's first choice, and we're like second, third on the list, why would you want a player that may not be committed to you and he could leave at any moment? So there's a lot of things that, when you start to break them down and you start to have sort of logical breakdowns, you're like, well, do you really want a player that doesn't really want to be here? And also, like, why would he pick, Arsenal over Barcelona, in terms of just historical context? Like, currently, they've got an exciting project. We've got an exciting project. Granted, they have no money, but, it's one of those, they are sorting that financial situation out. We've got a question here. Guys, if you want to get your questions in, more than happy to. Let's just have a bit of a Q&A before we lock off the stream. It's a bit of a short one just because, there's not a lot to talk about, but the Raphinha news was really, I just wanted to get people's thoughts on it as well. So Valve here saying, how many signings do Arsenal need and who are the players? I think we definitely need 3 signings, in my opinion. That's like a minimum. That's not the maximum. That's just like at the bare minimum, we need 3. Just to it kind of bolsters the squad because you can take players out and put them onto the bench as rotation. I'd say like a centre back, left back versatility player. So that's Alessandro Martinez. Potentially Aaron Hickey as well. You could throw those 2 names in as an option. Then what I'd want is a midfielder, a Yuri Tillemans, a Hossam Aouar, a Siko Fofana, Who else is there that I like the profile of? It's that sort of pseudo 8 role that Jacques has been playing closer to the end of the season. So they're the three players that I would throw into the hat for that position. Then I'd be looking at a versatile attacker who can play on the wings and down the middle. So Raphinha obviously doesn't fit that profile too much, but if you can get a top quality winger, that sorts out a lot of things as well. I'm so sorry, my throat gets so dry doing these. And I'd want I'd want like a Cody Gakpo would be ideal because he has played down the middle and he does play on the wing. Another potential that I'd be excited by is Salamana. They both cost us around 30 to 40 million euro. Well, not 40, but it'd be closer to 30 million euros. So they're the three positions I absolutely want. Who we get is who we get. As long as they're ambitious signings with quality, I don't mind the names. I've just thrown a few that I like like the profiles of for those positions. So I'm not saying they're the ones we have to get, but targets for I'm guessing this is Arsenal targets for next season, as in season and domestic. So it's contingent on what we get done. Say we get those three positions done. I expect no less than a top 4 challenge and Europa League, and then do as good as you can. For me, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup aren't priorities. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Well, you should try and win every cup you're in," but realistically, we're not going to do that. We're not going to win the Premier League. That's a given. But I'd expect us to be comfortably top 4. I know a lot of other teams are, getting better. They're going to improve. Manchester United are probably going to play and they're going to be asked and be up for playing football. I know Chelsea are looking to improve, especially if they get the Raphinha deal over the line. Then they're looking at getting 2 to 3 centre backs in. So they could be looking a lot different and a lot better than they have as well. Spurs obviously made the signings they have. I mean, we'll have to wait. With Spurs, it's more a case of waiting. Basuma isn't enough. Perisic is good, but how good is he going to be? He's what, 34, 35 or so. He's not young, let's just put it that way. And the Premier League, you don't really get given time to adapt. So we'll see how that one goes. So I'd expect a top 4 challenge. Not even a challenge. I expect top 4 and Europa League, and just do as well as you can in in the domestic cups. We're not going to be able to compete in all 4, but it'd be nice to. But I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. So that's just the way I am. I'm not going to be an idiot and go, we need to compete and everything. We need to challenge for everything because we're not there yet. We're probably a season away from having a squad that's able to rotate and be fit enough to compete on all fronts. So that'll be more of a next season that I want everything to be competed in. I'm so skeptical about Hickey and Gakpo. We need ready, proven players to step up when Tierney is injured. But instead of Hickey, you can just go for a thingy, Alessandro Martinez instead. And that's so sad. I'm just saying, like, worst case scenario, you can go for these two players. I get it. Gakpo isn't exciting because he is a project player. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. I think you'll win the Europa League. Just got a few. I hope so too. I hope so too. It's more of a hope. I mean, expectations are always going to be expectation, but you can never write how the season goes. But that's always going to be the case. Like, we have to wait and see how these things play out. Because I mean, if Barcelona or someone stupid drops into the Europa League, you don't really prepare for that. Like, if a Champions League winning side drops in, you're gonna be like, well, this is gonna be a fucking pain in the ass to now competing. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. Chris, okay, is a Chelsea fan clearly. Yeah, I mean, you know what, man? I'm taking the L. It is what it is. And to be fair, I said this on the terrace. Right now, Chelsea are bigger, but historically, we're the bigger club. So it just depends on what you value more. I mean, at the end of the day, look, right now, there's no denying you're a better proposition. You've won the Champions League more recently to us. Well, we haven't even won it. And you look to be in a better position. Now, obviously, we don't know what Todd Bowley does and how much he puts into the club, etc. But enjoy it, man. I'm gonna sit here and look. We're taking a massive L. I don't care what people on Twitter are saying. All these Arsenal fans who are now deflecting away from taking an L. We took an L. That's the facts of it. We have to sit here and go, do you know what? Fair play to Chelsea. No, I'm just gonna look. I don't care. Like, I don't have to sit here and say we're bigger because we're not right now. There's no denying it. We can't sit here and talk to 2 times or what? Two? Is it 3 times? I can't even remember now. It's like 2 or 3 time Champion League winners in the last sort of decade, and sit here and say we're bigger right now. It's just not facts. And like, I don't really lie. I don't care about being favorited in my fan base. I just look. I'm here to speak my truth and my opinion. Uh, no, thank you very much. But we can all agree. The thing, do you know what it is with Spurs, right? I don't mind them. Like, I don't care about them that much. It's the reality when they want to banter you when they haven't won anything. It's like win something and then talk to us. Even when we've been shit, we can win an FA Cup. You've been to a Carabao Cup final, win that. Like, do something. Like, that's all it is for us. Like, the only team in history to win every European trophy. Did you win the Europa League twice, or is it? What do you mean by like the? Hello, nah. Don't waste a tweet, man. How you doing? It's been a long, long time. We definitely need to link up soon. Serious talk. What is your targets, mate? I was a Sterling, Delict, Kunde, Dembele, Rice. If I'm being absolutely serious, I'd say Lisandro Martinez. I reckon Yuri Tillemans will now become a target again. And the attacker, I have no idea. The only names that I like at the moment are Sulemana, Cody Gakpo. Maybe put your hat in for Dembele, like for Arsenal. Like, why not go for Dembele on a thing that is? I know the wages are crazy, but you've got no transfer, so you can look at other places and still get your attacking option. It's a good option to go for. Koulibaly. Do you know what, right? Like, and this isn't even me taking a dig, right? Like, I'm not trying to throw shade. But I've not heard about this guy for a while. Like, how good is he now? Because not a lot of people are firstly talking about him, and secondary to that, like, we don't really know. Like, because he would, like, don't get me wrong, he's a solid defender, and he could be, I guess, a Thiago Silva type where people kind of write him off, but he's really good for his age. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting signing. He's definitely a beast. His tank, his strength, his physicality. But the thing is, like, the interest on him died down within Europe so much that I've got to question, like, what's happened to him. I don't watch Serie A too much. I watch it here and there when I can. So I just want to know, like, because I do think he's good, but I don't know how good he is now. Luke is saying top 3 is untouchable next season, and Conte's got a beast in terms of consistency in the league. 100%, I agree. Like, I think Conte, yeah, league-wise, he can definitely do something. But are they going to be distracted by the fact that, they need to win something? Because there's always the question, look, you always have to ask the question, like, are they going to be distracted by the fact they need to do something? Because they need a trophy of some sort. They didn't bring Conte in to lose. Let's be honest. They brought him in to win them either a Carabao Cup, an FA Cup. I don't see them winning the league, but potentially the league or the Champions League. Like, they need to be winning something. So don't waste a tweet. Lissandro should be closed before the weekend. 100%. You know what it is, right? It's a done deal. Like, we know what we need to do. Just get it done. That's all it is for me. Just get these deals done. Like, when we know what we need to do to get these deals over the line and secured, just do it. Like, I don't know what we're faffing around for. If you get Tillemans, it's a good. I'm happy with it. Like, I'm not saying he's a fantastic, magnificent, world-class signing, but he's a really good signing for what we need right now. He'll add the goals that we need. He'll definitely be improvement on Xhaka, especially in that advanced weird role. I think he's a good option. The issue is he's at Napoli, and they're one of the clubs that price their players out and moves. Yeah, no, I agree, because I think they were asking for like 18 million around the same time Van Dijk moved to Liverpool. So yeah, no, I hear that. But you know what? I do think it's a good option. I'm not even digging at the signing. I think he's quality. I do like him. So we'll have to wait and see. Like, I mean, look, I think he improves you, especially for a Rudiger replacement. He's definitely a short-term fix, and then you can always look to bring in maybe Chalobah improves and takes over when, oh, what's it now? Chalobah takes over for Koulibaly when he comes to of age or whatever, or when he wants to move on. I saw the top six show yesterday on the terrace. Don't know where the Spurs fans got chess from. Do you know? Do you know what it is? Yeah, like I said it. I said it's a guarantee you ain't winning the Champions League. So when you talk about Champions League pull for a team that ain't gonna win it, I don't know where the pull's coming from. Like, do you know when? Do you know what it is? Right? Champions League pull, in my opinion, only matters if you have a remote chance of winning it. And I get it. Every team that goes into it has a chance of winning it. But for me, it's a case of I don't see you winning it. There's too many teams who will smash you out of that. Whether it's a cup competition or one off, they will beat you. You're like seven, you're not even top 10 favorites. So when another club comes in and they have an opportunity, like a City coming for you, Liverpool, even a Chelsea coming for you, Real Madrid coming for you, regardless of how poorly they're perceived at the minute, they're going to pick them. Why? Because with Champions League, they have an opportunity and a realistic opportunity of winning it. So that's what I mean. I didn't get it. I don't understand it, but hey ho, let them dream. With Koulibaly, Napoli wanted 100 million and now he's 31. That's what I mean. He was quite coming of age, so it's a bit weird. Talking of Conte, great league manager, horrendous cup manager. Speaking from experience, like this is only cup win with us was the FA Cup. He won't win the league, and Spurs. That's what I mean. That's why I say to people, the grass isn't always greener. You have to have a certain type of club for Conte, and Arsenal ain't that, and Spurs aren't that either. So when people buzz about these managers, look, they're brilliant managers. Having a great manager doesn't always mean great success. Because Conte wants a quick turnaround. He wants his players in. He wants to buy players to win now, and it doesn't matter how he leaves you. Like if you're not matching his ambition, he will literally leave you in a state. Like he doesn't care, and that's what I don't like with Arteta. Look, let's just say he's a shit manager. Let's just say that, but he will try his absolute best to leave the club better than he found it. That's the bare minimum we can see. You can see his squad rebuild. You can see the profile of players he's bringing in. No matter what manager comes in, they're gonna really enjoy playing with these players. So that's at least the positive of him. Whereas with Conte, may burn everything down and then leave. A few seasons ago, it was him and Van Dijk who were the best centre backs in the world. That's what I mean. I do rate Koulibaly, but it's just like with the interest dying down, no one really going in for him. It's just a question I wanted to ask people about their opinions. Um, Keenan here saying, I don't understand the meltdown with Raphinha. He is solid wide forward, but there are a lot of good options in the market. That's what I mean. You're right. The wide forward option is crowded, whereas with the striker option, yeah, that's the worry, and that's why I'm glad we got Raphinha done. So you know, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not that fussed about it because you can get other players who have similar profiles. They may not be as good, or maybe they have the potential to be better. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Like, you know, having a meltdown is fine. I do get it because it's annoying to lose a player to a direct rival. And Chelsea are a direct rival. Whether they want to say yes, you are, no, you're not. All of this, I don't really care. Like, because logically, anyone that's like logically speaking, we are direct rivals. We're always gonna be because it's always the case of who can be bigger. Arsenal, if we win European competitions, we automatically surpass them as soon as we match their Champions Leagues. And look, that can happen in not in my lifetime, but they have to be worried about that. That if we do then one day win a Champions League or to win two, it's going to be very difficult for them to then surpass us again. So we are, and to lose them to there where they are bona fide top four contenders, it's annoying. We have to sit here and say it's annoying, but we have to move on. We can't cry all day long about it. Tillemans is an improvement, like most of our targets. Can't go wrong with that plan. Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I think because the thing is, Xhaka in the box, I don't like. You know, outside of the box, if he's taking a shot, yeah, he can score a banger. Inside the box, nah, I don't even know what he's doing. He just seems like he's going to get a nosebleed there. So Kunde and Delict are my preferred options. Ake has also been linked to City. Won't sell us two of their players. It's either Sterling or Ake. I prefer Sterling. I'd say you need Sterling more than an Ake because you can always get better or other options that are similar. Like Delict is a better Ake. Like that's the way I see it. Um, you know what? Kunde is an interesting one because, like, I don't know how that's because if you can get him secured before Barca find their money, then I do think you'll get him. But if Kunde gets the gist that all he needs to do is wait a few weeks for Barcelona to get him, it looks like he's going there. So it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be tough to see because Kunde is an interesting one because I rate him, but I don't know how good of a defender he actually is because I do watch La Liga and I follow it a lot, and especially Kunde. I do love his profile. But for me, it's like, I don't know how he'll handle the Prem, but we'll have to wait and see. Look, players do surprise you. Players sometimes come in that don't look like they should be this good, but do really well. So we've got to wait. But I do think you're not sort of done. I don't think it's done with Barcelona. You still got a chance, and I think the worry is if you get Koulibaly, Kunde, Delict. Like I don't know how many of them you're gonna get with Sterling and Raphinha. Damn, that's top three sorted. It's whoever gets fourth. I don't even think Spurs are in the conversation if you get that done. Conte will leave Spurs and back into the Europa League next year. I've got a feeling Conte walks. I'm not going to lie. City won't play direct rivals. Ake after, yep, 100%. Also, Spurs signing Basuma doesn't bother me. Chelsea are a big club. Can't take risk of our PR signing player that has a court case pending against him. Big risk signing, but Spurs are small. So that's what I mean. Like that's why it doesn't bother me because I know we weren't going to go in for him until we found out what's actually happened or what's happening. Unless they've got to jump on something that's illegal because they can't really talk about the case and the outcome of a case before it's happened. So we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. Leeds going down. Can't sell two of their best players within 4 days and expect to sell. I mean, Phillips and Raphinha. I mean, they had a few COVID cases with them out, and they couldn't do anything. So 100%. Yeah, logically speaking, the biggest game in London is Chelsea versus Arsenal. I hate Arsenal. Arsenal hate us. That's the way it is. That's 100%, man. And the thing is, look, I look forward to. You know, I look forward to Spurs. I look forward to playing you guys. It's just the way it is. Look, London, like those sort of. I'm not even gonna say postcode rivalries, but intercity, like for example, Manchester United versus City. Regardless of who's good and bad, they always mean something to the sort of local fans who have grown up watching their team. I know a lot of people sometimes get into football later on in their lives, or if they're not from footballing backgrounds, they don't understand it until later on. But yeah, 100%. Like intercity sort of rivalry is always going to be huge, always because you want to be the kings of your city. So 100%. Musa Diaby, Keenan here saying Musa Diaby, Cody Gakpo at Arsenal could easily outperform Raphinha at Chelsea. The response from our fans feels like I hear that, but you know what? Like being frustrated or annoyed is fine. Like I'm not gonna sit here and like say we can't. But Diaby, I don't know. I'll be honest with. Like he looks good, but we know what the Bundesliga can be. It's very hit and miss. Um, so yeah, or Cody Gakpo. I mean, I like Gakpo, but again, a big risk. But we'll have to wait and see what happens and who Arsenal have in their sort of minds about who they want to bring in. Speaking of Sterling for 37 million, I'm surprised not many teams are in for him. 100%. I mean, who's competing with Chelsea? Like, I mean, it's a destination to go to at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bargain. I mean, that's a bargain, and I think you know what what I say is overspending, but spending maybe a little bit more than you need to on Raphinha is made up by the fact that you're spending 37 million on Sterling because that's way under market for me. Like if you're looking at how much players are going for now, um, bro, we were supposed to sign Kunde last season. That's why we got rid of Zuma. But Sevilla, yeah, I know. Like there was like you agreed a fee for like I think it was 60 or 70 million, and then they wanted 80 or 85 million. Yeah, it was. To be fair play to them, man. They tried to do something. It looks like they're gonna get that money now. So fair play. I mean, I'd be pissed if I was you guys, to be honest. Barcelona will go under soon, mate. Can't keep getting away with debt if you play fire with. Do you know what it is though? They've got the economic levers, which they're selling off like the media rights for 49% of Barcelona, which will raise them close to 500 to 700 million euros. So they'll be fine, especially with now everything opening up and their economy being back to where it needs to be. They'll be back. No one will let them go under. That's the reality of the matter. They will find a way to come back. Got to go to work now. Thank you very much for tuning in, though, man. I appreciate every minute anyone stays on. And London is the biggest city in England, has the most teams in the city. 100%, 100%. I don't care what anyone says. Like being like the best team in your city, definitely, and obviously in the country is a big thing. Like that's what I mean. In England, it's a pride thing. Like who do you support? Yes, you want to say it with chest. Like yo, I support Arsenal. Say what you want. And the same for Chelsea fans. I'm guessing you want to be able to just sit there with your chest out and go, I'm a Chelsea fan. What can you really say to me? I'm secretly hoping that Chelsea get Neymar so that we can swoop in and get Sterling would be a magnificent signing for whoever get him. It's just phenomenal. Like I ain't gonna sit there. We'll sign Sterling for 45 million, Premier League proven, helps City win their title under Pep. Very much a bargain, and I'm surprised someone like Liverpool didn't want him back. But you know what it is though? Would they sell to Liverpool for that much though? Because they look at Chelsea and go, you're about 20 points off us or 15 points off us, or I can't remember what the difference was off the top of my head. Whereas the Liverpool are a direct, like a couple of points away from them. And if they give them Sterling, like that could be a game changer for them. So they're probably like, you know what, we can give them to other teams, but just not to Liverpool. If Liverpool want it back, pay us 80 million or something. But we don't know. We don't know what the reality of the matter behind the scenes are there. Yeah. Do you know what though? I'm not gonna lie. Ability, Neymar's one of the best in the world, but it's just his application and his mentality that lets him down. If he's focused on football, man, I would sign him in a heartbeat. But the reality is, he's got his head elsewhere. He's made his money. He's got his fame. He's got his brand deals. He's gotten everything he wanted out of the sport. And you know what? Fair play to him, man. Coming from like a very poor background to becoming potentially a billionaire or like a multi-hundred millionaire, like you have to praise it. Like you just gotta be like fair play to you, mate. Like it is what it is. City aren't selling anybody to Liverpool. That's what I'm saying. I don't see it happening. Like why would you? That's a good point. But last season, no one had a season like Chelsea. Tuchel getting backed, and Pep needs to remember that we smacked them 3 times in a row. If Tuchel gets backed, we are a problem. But you know what it is though? Like obviously we see it that way as fans, but Pep's got an arrogance. He doesn't really think anyone's better than him. And it works in his favor at times, and at times it's his downfall. But that's what I mean. Like, you know what? Like if you back Tuchel, he definitely is showing signs of being a competent or a really good manager. I don't put him in the same bracket yet as a Klopp and a Pep, but there's nothing to suggest if he's fully back. My only sort of question and my only sort of gripe, and you can take this however you want, is how does Tuchel do if he has to change systems? We've seen him with the 3-4-3, the 5-2-3, however you kind of want to, put that formation out. But if he has to turn into a four, because every time he's done a four back, you've been battered. Because he did a four back against West Brom and they beat you 5-2, I believe it was. Then you did another four. You did another four back against Wolves and you lost. You did another four back against I think another team and you lost. So the track record at the moment isn't good, and the players that you're signing don't fix that issue because your issue is actually midfield, not your defense. So does he stick to it? That's the question, really. And if he does, like, how does he really fare? I mean, look, the verdict's always going to be out. I'm not someone that's going to say that is set in stone. No way he can do it. But it is what it is. The only reason why I said yes to Dembele is due to his form when we worked with Tuchel. I could say the same about Neymar when he worked with Tuchel at PSG, but Neymar is a diva. Like that's that's the risk that you get with Neymar. And also with Dembele, he's just been mismanaged in his injuries. So if you can manage his injuries good and you can rotate him enough and you give him enough game time, but also give him enough break, you won't get the injury problems. We've seen it under Xavi, for example, when he doesn't start as many games. He'll play like 40 minutes, then build his fitness up, play 60 minutes to start with, and then you kind of do that with him. He's fine. He doesn't really get reoccurring injuries, but that's the only problem with him is you might not be able to get a run of games out of him, and that's the risk factor. Same with Neymar. At a certain period, business end of the Premier League season, man's gonna go party with his sister. So that's the only problem that you're gonna have with both of those signings. Our finishing is the main issue. Against Liverpool, it was equal game. Need to sort our finishing out. Also, the December curse is gone for us. I mean that what it was, that Chelsea game. I thought title contenders because it's like wait, who went a man down? Was it Liverpool or did you guys go a man down? Because I think it was Chelsea went had a red card and they still managed to keep Liverpool out. I was like, fair play. Like, I mean, to end it 1-1, fair play to you, man. Like, it is what it is on that one. So big pressure on Arteta this season. From the outside, I think he's under pressure. Would you let him go at the start? Would you let him go if you start the season? The answer to the last part is no, because you can always turn it around. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. We've seen a lot of clubs kind of do really badly in patches of the league and turn it around. My thing is, if we're going to sack him, it'll have to be the end of the season, not at the beginning, because there's no point of putting so much behind a project and behind the manager just to sack him really early. We've got to, and also it's about what is the priority objective? Is it the Europa League? Is it top four? Is it both? It depends on the clubs, but if we're looking at it from a fan perspective, you can lose games. We know we're going to lose games, but I don't want to be losing as many. I want to try and turn as many of those losses into potentially draws, get points on the board if you're really struggling, having an off game. But for me, it's about let's compete. I want to compete against the top six in the league. I want us to kind of win the Europa League. I don't really want to. I don't want to flop out of it, But the thing is, it's kind of weird because when you then say if your objective is to win the Europa League, you're getting Champions League. So is top four a priority, or do you go for a cup competition instead? Do you try and get a Europa League, FA Cup, or a Carabao Cup? It's always going to be different, and I guess everyone's going to have a difference of opinion. But for me, I want top four, and I want the Europa League. That's the main two for me. Here we've got we went a man down. Oh yeah, Reece James. Yeah, I remember that. Conceded a penalty, which wasn't a penalty, but Anthony said, yeah. But you know what? The fair play, because when I looked at that game, I was like, Chelsea could actually be contenders because, I mean, obviously you beat us. That was kind of a given at the time. You were going to beat us because of we didn't really have a team. We were shit at the time, and we didn't even know where our goals were coming from. So surely your priorities are Cup, League Cup, not League Cup or FA Cup. I'd say Europa League definitely is a priority cup. And then, but you know what it is? Look, I think they're trying to compete on all fronts, which is what it is. But no, I'd want the Europa League top four priorities and then just try and win the other two. Like, I don't want us to sort of put full teams out and risk them getting injured when we've got more important things to focus on. We need to try and get back into the champion. That's my primary focus, is try and get back into. I want Champions League football next season, not the season coming, but the next season. But yeah, guys, it has been wonderful. It's just over the hour. If you are new, do subscribe. Okay, let me just answer this final question and then we'll call it a day. I'll be back on anyway. I'll be back on maybe tomorrow or the day after, definitely again at 10 o'clock, 10:30 start. What is your top four It's really early, so I'll give an early prediction. I'd say in order, I'm going to go Man City to win the league, Liverpool to be close seconds. Right now, oh man, that's hard. I'd say if you can get the deals done, Chelsea, then I'm going to put Arsenal there. I know it's a big one to put Arsenal top four, but I do think we'll get top four. Um, and then predictions for relegation. I'll have to do this another time because I don't even know what teams have come up. I've not done enough research on this one, so I will answer that on a further stream when I do a few predictions and stuff. But thank you very much. I mean, some new faces in here as well, and it's been an absolute privilege. And thank you very much for staying on the stream, contributing with chats and everything. If you haven't already, do like, subscribe, and if you can, share. And if you want to know what I'm getting up to, follow me on Twitter on Gunnar Souls, which is right there. If you follow me on Twitter there, that'll be massively appreciated. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening and have a good day tomorrow. Take care. Peace.